Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Crazy games today between the Mets and the Braves. Ultimately, they do split, but that first game was a wild one. Honestly, kicked off this week perfectly.
Yeah.
It's the wild card series coming at you. I guess we'll start off in the American League since the Mets and the Braves had such a good day today. We'll put that on the back burner until the end. But yeah, let's start off with Detroit and Houston. Um, I believe Houston's taking care of business here, right? 4 of 6 games. So
Yep.
they're 4-2 against Detroit this year.
Yep.
Scooble's pitched against them twice. They won one of those games, lost one of those games. And then one of the games that Detroit won was actually a Jack Flaherty start, who they no longer have, right? Got traded over to the Dodgers. But nonetheless, Detroit has been one of the hottest teams in baseball over the past month and a half. They get into the playoffs with the collapse of the Twins, and I guess you could say the collapse of the Mariners in the
Yeah.
second half as well.
Yeah.
So this is shaking out to be a good series. It's gonna be AJ Hinch going against his old team. Obviously, there's some baggage there, but before we make our picks here, what is your first thought on this series right here?
Yeah, obviously, just to touch on the Tigers, first time back in the playoffs since 2014, obviously. So it's always nice to see long playoff droughts end. It's just been a cool story for them the whole second half, like you kind of alluded to it there a minute ago. It's been one of the coolest stories to watch all post All-Star break. They're just a bunch of kids really playing with no pressure, right? They're just playing a kids game out there. So all the pressures on Houston, in my opinion. I mean, they're obviously on the road. Tigers are going in there with kind of house money. You got one of the best pitchers in the league on the bump game one. It'll be an interesting series for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Scooble is gonna win the Cy Young. There's no
Yeah,
doubt about that.
yeah.
But Framber Valdez is proven. He's consistent. He gets it done in October. Um, I think it's been a great run for these Tigers,
Mhm.
but I am gonna go with the Houston Astros.
Yep.
I mean, the track record is what it is. They get it done every single year.
I think two
So,
or three.
mm, man, I'm gonna go three.
Yeah,
Because I think there is a chance that Scoop dominates and they win this game. So,
yeah.
you know, I am going to go with 3 games here. It would be interesting to see if Detroit went and played Cleveland that next round. Obviously, we're going to save that for another video, but that would be two division rivals taking on each other. Two division rivals we haven't really seen match up in the playoffs.
Yeah,
I can't remember in my lifetime them matching up. So
yeah.
that definitely would be interesting to watch. But again, I am going to go with Houston. They just are the more sharpened team, and I think even though Detroit is doing well with their young kids, I just don't know how much experience is going to factor into this
Yeah,
series. So
the
I am going to
I
go with
guess I
Houston.
guess the word is battle tested, right? Houston's been to ALCS after ALCS right over the years. This is kind of the first taste for all these young kids. I am going to go with Houston in three as well. I think Scooble wins game one, but I think Houston gets it done. And I mean, they're going to go you said Valdez Brown game two, and then you got Kikuchi in game three. So I think that in itself is a big advantage for Houston as well. So yeah, I will go with the Astros as well.
Yeah, maybe even see Justin Verlander in there.
Yeah,
Who knows?
true.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, but let's get off to that next series. It's going to be Kansas City taking on the Orioles. This is the one I'm personally most excited for. Um, two young teams. Kansas City, they to me, I felt like they were consistent all year long, but then a stat came out saying pretty much they didn't play the White Sox, they would have been under 500. So I know they did lose some games towards the end of the season. Maybe ran out of gas a little bit, but nonetheless, they did make the playoffs. So now we're here. But those Orioles, they got Zach Eflin. He's gonna be going to game two. Corbin Burns, obviously, going game one. The pitching set it up nicely, at least in the first 2 games or a series like this. Cole Reagans will be going on the other side, Seth Lugo and probably Michael Wacha if we got to a game three here.
Yeah.
Personally, I think it's going to be a 2-game sweep for the O's here. But it'll be cool to see Bobby Witt Jr. get to the playoffs this year.
Yeah, that's Bobby Witt's must-watch TV, man. I'm excited. This whole playoffs in a whole, there's a lot of star power, right? We got you kind of talked about it in the last video we did about the star power back in the playoffs. I am going to go Baltimore in three. I do think KC does win one here. Um, we've been waiting for Baltimore to kind of have their moment in the playoffs. They obviously lost to Texas last year in the playoffs. Um, but this might be their time. Like they're good offense. They got a pretty good pitching staff. You got Grayson Rodriguez who could potentially go game three in this series as well. So yeah, I like KC, but this might be the best wild card series of the four, I think.
Yeah, I think it just comes down to how much Kansas City battles.
Yeah.
Um,
Is
I don't.
Pasquantino going to be back? He might
They're
play. I
saying
don't know.
possibly,
Yeah.
possibly.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll find that out tomorrow. They didn't get a workout today. Excuse me. They didn't get a workout today because of the weather. So
Right.
I think he hit in the cage, but they haven't really said if he's gonna be activated or not. So I guess game time decision.
Yeah.
If it does shake out that way, it looks like Houston. If it shakes out the way that we say it would, Houston taking on Cleveland, and Baltimore taking on the Yankees in round two. Obviously, we'll save that for another day, depending on who makes it. But in that case, you know, I think that I think that this is going to be a year that we might see some stars get their first ring. And
Yep.
let's get off to that National League.
Yep.
Without getting to the wild card, I'm looking at the Phillies already sitting in the DS and the Dodgers. There's a chance that either Aaron Judge, Bryce Harper, or Shohei Ohtani all get their first ring. And
Yep.
that's pretty cool in my opinion.
Yep.
But before we can get to that DS, we got to get through this NL wild card. Like we said at the top, the Mets make it, Braves make it, D-backs are out. They actually led the league in runs this year and didn't make the playoffs. Um, Still a great year. I think 89 wins, 88 wins. So
Yep.
interesting day. There was even like video of the Braves and the Mets kind of like not celebrating together, but like meeting on the field during their celebrations.
Yeah.
So that was weird. But that game one was electric and it
Oh,
really set the tone for the week.
yeah.
But let's jump into, I guess we'll go with the Mets and the Brewers to start. Um, the Brewers have absolutely spanked the Mets this year.
Hmm.
So it almost maybe would have been better if the Mets would have won that second game today because they would have been heading to San Diego.
Yeah.
Um, but I am gonna go ahead. I am gonna take the Brewers in this series. The Mets, hats off to them. They've fought and clawed and made it. I just have. I'm sorry, Mets fans. I've just been out all year. Like I've been out all year. They've been like the trickiest team to me. Obviously, they got on some hot streaks and that proved dividends here. But I've just like I haven't been able to get on board with this team at all. And I don't know, maybe it's a me thing, but the Brewers obviously don't have Christian Yelich. But they haven't slowed down at all. They just kept it rolling, and those young kids have been playing well.
Yep.
So I'm gonna go ahead and go with the Brewers in this series. Hats off to the Mets for making it there. But the Brewers have just been one of the most consistent teams across the board. So
I am going to go with the Brewers here, but I will play devil's advocate for a second here. The one thing the Mets got against the Brewers is they've been playing postseason baseball for the past month and a half, right? They've been fighting for their lives, trying to scratch and claw to make the playoffs, and the Brewers have kind of been in coast mode in the division for the last month and a half. So, the Mets have been playing more desperate baseball. That maybe gives them a slight edge, I guess. But I don't know. I'm going to go the Brewers here, but wouldn't be surprised if this was a 3-game series. Lindor's
well,
kind of put the team on his back here lately, so it's been kind of awesome to see.
coming off a doubleheader though, Edwin
Yeah,
Diaz had to go
that's
six
true.
outs today to win that game.
Yeah,
He's pretty much. I mean, who knows what they do tomorrow? I mean, it's the playoffs, but you'd think he's kind of unusable tomorrow at least.
yeah,
So that's a big disadvantage for game one. I mean,
yeah. That's how they. I mean, obviously, you kind of can't um predict the weather, but that's tough having a double header, then going right into a playoff game the next day. It's kind of tough. But I mean, it is what it is. Can't really do much about it.
all right. And rounding out is the Padres taking on the Braves. This is probably on paper, the one that you look at and like, dang, this could be a really good series.
Hmm.
Um, the Padres are definitely setting up more nicely with that pitching. Chris Sale did not pitch game two today of that doubleheader because of back spasms. He's probably going to win the National League Cy Young, so that's a big hit. And they're saying they don't expect him to be ready for this wild card series.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to do it without him. Max Fried just pitched the other day, so he's not lined up for tomorrow.
So what do you got? Charlie Morton, game one?
I guess
They
I
just
let's take a
pitched
look.
They pitched Swallenbach game one of the doubleheader, so it's probably going to be Morton.
It's TBD right now. They haven't even announced who it's going to be. It's going to be Michael King going for
Yeah.
the Padres. Oh, sorry about that. Hold on one sec. Yeah, Michael King going game one for
Yeah.
the Padres. It's going to be Musgrove in game two.
And then probably
And
Cease for game
see,
three. Cease or Darvish.
yep, it'll be Dylan
That's
Cease.
yeah.
I think Darvish went down with a little bit of something lately,
Oh,
but
okay. Okay. But
um,
yeah, it was
none.
so
Yeah,
weird watching right before this doubleheader. It was like Alex Anthopoulos is going to speak to the media. I'm like, what? Like, what's going on here? And all of a sudden, he announces Chris Sale's been scratched. Like he might not pitch in the wild card series. I was like, whoa, like what is going on? Like that's a huge loss for them. Obviously, it's nothing new for this Braves team. They've been hit with injury after injury after injury all season long, right? Acuna, Albies, Riley, right? I mean, they've just been injured all season long, and they've bounced back. They didn't have the season that they probably would have hoped to have, but they still scratched and clawed, made the playoffs. They've been a pretty resilient team all season long. That being said, I'm going to take San Diego in two here, just because of Sale.
yeah. I think there's no surprises here. Like you said, no Acuna, no Austin Riley. So you got Matt Olson, you got Albies,
Yeah,
you got Azuna,
yeah,
and then whoever else picks up the pieces there. So I'm gonna go ahead and go with the Padres as well. They're a more healthy team. They've been playing better baseball. Um, they had a really strong week last week.
yeah.
They beat up on they beat up on Arizona to end the year. They also played really competitive games with the Dodgers,
Hmm.
who are probably the best team in baseball, if we're being honest. So,
Yeah.
some competitive games with the Dodgers kept it close. Plus, beat up on the D-backs. Did I say Astros or did I say D-back?
D-backs. Yeah, yeah,
Okay, yeah.
yeah,
D-backs, they beat up on the D-backs last week to end the year. But yeah, I'm gonna go Padres as well. I don't know whether it be three or two. I'm gonna say three just because Atlanta deserves that respect.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, if that shakes out the way that we expected, it would be the Brewers taking on the Phillies and the Padres taking on the Dodgers. Obviously, that Padres Dodgers series would be probably the one to watch. What's interesting here is you can have if the Mets win, if Detroit wins, if Baltimore wins, and the Padres win, you're getting four DSs that are all division rivals.
yeah,
I don't know if that's ever happened.
yeah.
That so
Oh, and
probably
the
not going to happen because I think Milwaukee will win this series, and I also think Houston will win the series. But it would be interesting to see four division rivals going at it in the American League Division Series.
one stat I forgot to bring up about KC. So the last 39 years, they made the playoffs three times. They've won the World Series twice. They won in 85, 2015, and then they made the playoffs in 2014, lost in the ALCS. So,
They lost in the World Series to the Giants.
sorry, World Series. Yeah, they won in 85. They lost in 15. Um, or won in 15, pardon me. Yeah, they lost to the Giants in 14. But yeah, that was crazy. 39 years, been to three World Series, so that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But
All
who
right.
are you most excited to watch in this wild card? Like if you could pick one player, would it be Bobby Witt?
Hmm. I love Bobby Witt,
Yeah,
but I love Gunnar Henderson a little bit more.
yeah, yeah,
Gunnar Henderson, they're both electric, but I don't know. For whatever reason, I lean towards Gunnar Henderson. That guy is electric, and I feel like he's got a little extra juice. I don't know. It's just like to me, and this might be a really hot take, I don't want to get off topic. He reminds me a lot of a young Bryce Harper.
Mm.
A lot. So, um, yeah, I think Gunner might be one of my favorites for a while in the future here. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this one. It should be an exciting week. Obviously, we'll circle back on Thursday. That is when it ends, and Division Series starts on Saturday. So we will know our results then. Until then, drop a comment or like this video if you like this. If you liked it, hit that sub button and let us know who you think are going to win these wild card series. Most open playoffs for sure
Oh
that
yeah.
we've seen in a while.
Yeah. I'd agree.
I really want to see either New York, Philly, New York, LA. I really want to see it in the World Series.
Deep down in your
It's
heart, I don't know if you could take a Ohtani World Series. Ooh, that would be tough as an Angels fan.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
I want to see the best players play on the best stage. I would love to see Judge versus Ohtani. I
Yeah.
think it's the best for baseball. That's no knock to any of these other teams, but Judge versus Ohtani or Judge versus Harper, all those lefties playing at Yankee Stadium in the World Series, I don't know. That just it sounds like a storybook. One could be one of the greatest World Series of all time.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. I haven't really been looking towards this playoff picture or since I'm an Angels fan and they suck ass and they lost 99 games. I've been kind of trying to check out just for my mental health here, but um yeah, now that I'm looking at it, I'm excited. I'm excited to
Yeah.
watch the playoff baseball and
Yeah.
go from there. But sorry, like I said, if you like this video, make sure to hit that like and subscribe. As always, we appreciate you guys for listening, and we'll see you on the next one. Later.